Affordable Housing Trust. So why don't we just go around and have all the trust members introduce themselves so everybody knows who's here.
I'll go first, I guess. Hi, I'm Suzanne Cameron. I'm the trustee.
I'm Karen Weiner.
Madeline Nash.
Donna Holiday, Mayor of the City of Newburyport.
Oh, so welcome everyone, and we have Kate Sullivan as our staff person and a special guest tonight, Tiffany, and I forgot Tiffany, your last name, from Pettingill. Nigro, Tiffany, yes. Nigro from Pettingill. So the first item on our agenda is the rental assistance update from Pettingill. And we did get both reports. We had a report from, I guess the month of the month of June maybe. And then we did get a later report for the month of July. So, I mean, I have some specific questions, but Tiffany, why don't you start by just kind of giving us an overview of how the program's going?
Sure. So I did send a report along yesterday. It has since been updated because we approved another resident today. So it's up to 8 approvals and the total amount is $19,184. We do have 2 families that have reached the max of the 3-month threshold and or the 4,500. 3 have been assisted with 2 months and 3 have been assisted with 1 month of rent at this point. We have several applications that are pending at this point. We're just awaiting some additional documentation from the actual resident themselves and or the landlord to come back with the landlord verification forms. And we have also just recently translated the application into Portuguese because I was in contact with Trish Boateng at the Newburyport Youth Services. She had several families that wanted to apply but were Portuguese speaking, so that was just done. Her and I are coordinating getting that application into the hands of the residents so they can apply. We do have a few applicants that are not at this point self-sustaining. We look at the big picture and we want to make sure that they can self-sustain beyond the rent. Some of it is the unemployment. So it's getting that in place. You know, some people have said, oh, I've tried or I don't qualify. So we're encouraging them and actually helping act as a liaison between them and unemployment or them in RepCal course. We've been working closely with his office. Kelsey, his aide, has been wonderful about actually some people that said they weren't approved, you know, they were a substitute teacher, and we said, yeah, let's look at that a little bit closer. And there's been several people that have been approved and several that are pending at this point for unemployment. And let's see, there was a few applicants, one that had applied and no longer needed assistance. There was one that applied, was a Newbury resident, was not Newburyport, so we referred them internally for a different financial assistance, but also they were an elder, so referred them to one of our social workers that work specifically with seniors. And then there's also some other, I had put in the demographic information because we're looking at the social work model. So we have expertise within our agency that works specifically with families, 60 and over. So it's not just the one-time financial assistance. We're going beyond that and really assessing what are the needs of the family and individual. So, and then, so that's more specifics about the up to date as far as today, how many we've assisted. So eight officially have been assisted at this point, 8 households. And 13 people within the households.
And you said how many had received the maximum?
2 at this point, 2.
2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tiffany, do you know where people are hearing about this from?
I just, because they're either clients and we've talked about it. Some of it is they've heard it through the mayor's, when she's reporting. It could be Newburyport Youth Services. So many different avenues. Because I know that was a little bit of feedback that it was stagnant for the month of July. We hadn't received too many applications, so we had suggested to do another public service announcement. We also are working with Newburyport Youth Services and their mental health youth task force. And we just created a handout. It's going out to all the local pantries. And it's kind of like, what are your needs? Do you have what you need? And directing them to Pettingill House and Newburyport Youth Services. So I think that we're gonna obviously provide more outreach that way.
Yeah, I would think, food pantries, maybe churches, wherever people are going to, to ask for help in any area.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily have access to newspapers or social media or have the time, or just the access to that. So, yeah, well, that is definitely good to know that it's coming from a few different sources.
Yeah.
Was anyone over income who applied?
There was no one was over income.
Tiffany, I was wondering what might be the options for the 2 families who have just maxed out. Like, what might be their outcome? Do they have something on the horizon that looks promising, or?
Well, let's see. So one
Is
of them.
Raft an issue for them, I guess, a possibility.
It is a possibility that they could apply. Just looking at one of the households, I will be okay. She's back to work. The other household is not back to work. And the concern is she has 2 children. So whatever happens with the school piece, whether it's remote, hybrid, or in person, that's going to affect that specific household, and I think more households to come. So I don't know. I know Afroz sent along. There's an upcoming webinar next week about discussing COVID and the homelessness. Like, let's be creative. Like, what's going to happen at the legislative level, because the pandemic, unemployment is disappeared, and is that going to be supplemented to what level? Are they going to just say, okay, everyone that is in arrears, that's forgiven, and mortgage companies are going to get a stimulus? I don't know, but we are referring these families that are eligible, that are below the 50% AMI, to apply for Raft. I know it's a daunting application, and the landlord has quite a bit of information themselves to fill out, but it's especially like this family that we're talking about with the two children, not knowing like what the future holds for them, to encourage them to do the application, and we'll assist as much we can on this end. And I know Community Action, Bob Gould is back, so he's helping as well as the local service agency for that. So, and we do have some other funding available. It may be some cost sharing. So, but it's hard. I mean, this I'm assuming this mom, if it's full remote, if she has no safety net, is not going to be able to get back to work.
Tiffany, did you get, this is Mayor Holliday, did you receive additional funding from the Essex Community Foundation?
We
Because
did.
they had reached out to me, and I had suggested that they put the money for housing into Pettingill. So
Yes.
did they?
Yes. Yep. We
Okay.
just received 40,000 from them.
Wonderful.
A couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I, again, today, I had shoulder surgery, so I was hadn't done my update for several weeks, but I did one today, and strongly encouraged, if you need 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, please, Jess, the money is there.
Yep.
We want to help people. Don't be shy about stepping up, especially if it's the first time you've ever reached out and asked for assistance. It's
Yep.
what it's for. And so I really emphasized. And I was wondering about, and our Council on Aging knows about it. I'm wondering if, I think churches is a really good idea, but what about the Salvation Army? I don't know how much outreach you have with them.
So I can touch base with Liz there. I know that she's generally the one that that assists with the emergency assistance applications there.
I did reach out and call them and sent them an email, but I wasn't able to get a hold of anyone in person. So perhaps a follow-up call would work.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Can we do another follow-up press release, perhaps, saying we've successfully, something about how it's going, and don't, just another sort of note to the public saying that it's still available.
Mhm.
Also, Tiffany, when you mentioned 50% AMI, for Raft, I'm sure you're aware of this, but there's this new program, IRMA, as well, where it's up to 80%. So
Yes.
potentially
Yes.
there could be some help for people there once they've used up what we have.
So Tiffany, you mentioned that Community Action Inc., they're the local agency for Raft. I thought it was Community Teamwork.
It is community teamwork, but Bob Gould, he has assisted locally as like a satellite agency to
Okay.
assist with Raft. Yeah.
So how is the Raft program any better? Have they worked through their backlog at all?
So last we heard, which was, a little over a week ago, that they're just inundated. They're, getting upwards to several hundred calls a day. And, they're limited in staff, I think, ratio to calls to staff. So I don't know if they're going to hire anyone, but and unfortunately what happens with that, I mean, we have a little bit more leeway that if the application is over 30 days old, it's like null and void and they have to start the process. So so it's difficult when you're counting on your landlord to complete their portion of the application and it's not turned in on time. You think it would be an incentive because they're going to get paid, but that's not always the case. And,
Right.
and they may be doing other things and busy, but so I can't truthfully answer, I mean, I think unfortunately they're still going to be inundated because there's going to be another person behind them that's in need. So
Right.
I'm hoping, because I I talked to Julie from Community Action that she had mentioned that there was a shorter application, and I was surprised that regionally, like it wasn't, or even across the state, that it wasn't the same application, especially in these times. Like, just reduce it to, I don't know, say if it's 20 pages, reduce it to 10 or 12 and streamline things. So I don't know if they're going to be looking at doing that. I haven't heard that, but it's just really challenging for a lot of families to organize themselves, to have that executive functioning, to get all the paperwork together, to fill out the application and put it together in a package and get it there. So.
And then the landlord has to do their part too.
Right.
Like if they do all that, right?
Right. Yeah.
What I heard from the Boston group is that they're so inundated and so busy that they don't do the same amount of hand holding they used to do. So if someone
Yeah.
bring in the one document, rather than calling them saying, get that document, they just go on to the next person because,
Yeah.
you know, they're overwhelmed. So I know one thing they said is to the extent you can emphasize to someone to really, you know, get everything all in at once, they're more likely to get processed faster. But it's hard. I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Hey, I'm just curious, so when people apply, they physically come to your office?
They do not, because the only people that are in our office are staff, and that's even limited at this point. So an application either comes through our website, or we mail them out and receive them back in the mail. And then there's a phone interview, or we can do a Zoom interview. We're actually doing one tomorrow with a Newburyport applicant. So we're following up, checking up on everything, and, you know, reviewing the application with them, like everything that they've provided is true to the best of their knowledge, that they've signed off, that we can contact the landlord. And then we send out a separate landlord verification, just, you know, are they attendant, overall in good standing, you know, what in fact over the last 6 months has their arrearage been, what have they paid, what are they in arrears, and they complete a W-9 form.
And excuse my ignorance, but are we typically, are the trust funds typically paying the full rent or a portion of the rent?
So it's a case by case. I know that initially it was, you know, ideally it's to have them be responsible for some of the rent, like kind of based on like a Section 8, 30%. Let's see, at this point, it looks like we've assisted with a full month's rent, just because of every situation that they were on unemployment. It was a reduced amount and they weren't actually making their full working wages. So one of them, because of the maximum of 1,500, they were responsible for 100.
And when you provided their household income on your chart,
Yes.
is that the current household income? Like that's the income sort of as of today, calculated forward?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tiffany, are the landlords taking a haircut at all, or are they demanding the full amount?
Yeah. Unfortunately, the 8 cases that we've worked with are, yeah. There is one, though, I mean, there is one resident that was behind a significant amount. We haven't yet approved this individual because of the unemployment. This individual was self-employed, and the landlord is willing to reduce the overall arrearage by a significant amount. So that may be one in the near future that we approve. But unfortunately, I think some of the landlords, right, are struggling maybe themselves, and, you know, I don't know if they've deferred mortgages themselves. So,
So do we have a variety of landlords?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And we also are doing, not that we budget, we don't, that's not generally what we do, but we are looking at, we're having them fill out a budget form, because we, you know, we want them to be aware of, like, are they living beyond their means? Are they able to sustain their expenses month to month? And are there some other resources that we can look into as well? So, so just so you're aware of that. And some of the families too, it's like the kids are home from college, and that's unknown as well. Are they returning? And there's just a lot of unknowns, unfortunately, at this point, and a lot of stress, and they're doing the best they can.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. It sounds like you're doing doing a lot of work and dealing with a lot of tough situations.
Yeah. So, and it is challenging too, because it, you know, we want to keep everyone safe, our staff, the clients, and, you know, everyone. So the paperwork getting back and forth is a little delayed, and even our internal process, because we weren't even in the office together. It was very limited. So that is improving. We have our financial assistance coordinator. She's in the office 2 days a week now. So that's helping improve, streamline, and move things along a little bit faster as well.
So as far as getting the word out, I'm looking at the staff report that Caitlin had put together. So Caitlin, you're saying you did contact all of these different agencies. Suzanne, I think, suggested maybe we do another press release. That's probably a good idea. And it sounds like the mayor's been mentioning it as often as she can. Any other ideas from anybody as to getting the word out even more?
I saw some reference to the James Steam Mill and Heritage House, and I don't really know much about the financing for those properties. I could find out, but I think they're affordable
Yes.
housing
Yes.
with state funding or some kind of federal funding. So I don't think they're going to be evicting tenants. I hope not.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that, but I'm sort of thinking that maybe we don't need to worry about those two properties. Do other people have an opinion on that?
Well, shouldn't they be adjusting the rent? I guess it depends on the funding source, but if it's 30% and their income goes down, I would think their rent would go down too.
It does.
I think Heritage House is a Wynn property, and I think they said that they're
Well, they're not evicting.
right. So that's positive. But, you know, I can look into that and see if it's a concern, but I'm